window. Now we can see all the nice dust floating around. Hey, what's up guys? I'm Jacob Kaufman, I'm on the street, and today we are talking about Apple. I know I did a few Apple videos the other week, but, you know, Apple has done their second announcement recently, at least felt kind of recent to me. They did their fall 2013 announcement just last week. I think it was last Tuesday. And I never really made a video about Apple's announcements way back at the end of summer. I did do a live stream, but the video stuff got corrupted. My fault, because I was screwing with the video settings during the live stream, trying to cheat my live stream host out of bandwidth. But yeah, basically, in this video I'm going to be talking about everything Apple's done recently. So, first I'm going to talk about what they did just last Tuesday. As you can see, apple.com, the first thing that comes up is iPad Air. And I have not really looked at the websites for this stuff. All I did was I watched the keynote. So I'm going based off memory here, because I know that these videos can get boring when I'm reading stuff off the screen. So yeah, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about anything. But as far as I know, the iPad Air is now 1 pound, which is down from 1.4 pounds. The iPad, was it the iPad 5th generation? I think it was the iPad 5th generation was the last one out. Which personally, the iPad was, the iPad. Then there was the iPad 2, big redesign. There's now a tapered back, a more tapered back. There's now, cameras and stuff. And the iPad 2 is pretty big. But from the iPad 2 to the new iPad, the iPad 5th generation that is, nothing really changed. In the iPad 3rd generation, they added the Retina screen, which I don't have any experience with the Retina screen. I just have not gotten Apple products recently enough to have anything with a Retina display. But, yeah, I accept that the Retina screen is probably going to be really good. I'm hoping to get an iPhone in a few months, possibly. So yeah, I'll see what all this Retina stuff is about. But, yeah, iPad 3 had the Retina screen. iPad 4, what did they change? They upgraded the chips. iPad 5, what did they change? They upgraded the chips. And they didn't call them the iPad 4 and the iPad 5, they just called them the iPad, and that's why they stopped changing the name every time and just calling it the iPad, the new iPad, because they weren't changing enough to recognize a new model number, or a new name. And now, with the iPad Air, they are saying, okay, we've changed enough to recognize the new name. Recognize a new name, whatever. The iPad Air is, like I said, it's thinner, smaller bezel. Basically, the iPad Air is a jumbo-size iPad mini. Not saying that's not a good thing, but the iPad Air is now 1 pound down from 1.4, I believe. So 0.4 pounds lighter. I don't think it's enough to warrant the name iPad Air, which I'll get to that at the end of talking about the iPad Air. But it comes with the brand new A7 chip and the M7 chip that goes with it. So it's got the quad-core 64-bit processor plus the separate processor for, I'm not sure if the one's quad-core actually. It's got the 64-bit processor plus the motion processor that is in the new iPhone that I'll talk about in a bit. I am super excited about that. 64-bit is something that Apple is trying to get everyone to convert to tablets. Microsoft is trying to get everyone to convert to tablets. I don't like tablets. I've got an Nexus 7, which is way too small. The only reason I got a 7 instead of a 10 was budgetary reasons. And I mean, it's fine for watching YouTube in bed or reading. What I use this for most is reading. Like I said, I read with this, I watch YouTube videos, I use it to control my TV downstairs. I think tablets are a great, remote controller for things. I don't want to use my phone to control appliances in my house, but if I want to control, lights and things in my house, I think tablets would be great for that. Smaller tablets such as the Nexus 7. But I don't want to do my day-to-day work on a 7-inch tablet. personally, I don't want to do my day-to-day work on a 10-inch tablet. I don't want to be doing office documents on a 10-inch screen. I don't want to be doing, anything really on a screen that small. So one of the things that I'm waiting for is a 13-inch tablet. That's what I'm waiting for before I, ditch the desktops. But the other thing is power, computing power, that I have been waiting for. And I think 64-bit processors, some people argue, oh, it's a 64-bit processor, software's not optimized for it, it's not going to make a big deal. But on desktop computers, have felt the difference between a 32-bit and a 64-bit operating system, a 32-bit and 64-bit processor. I have felt the difference in using software. And I certainly think that that is a very important upgrade for the iPad and the iPhone. If Apple's going to try and kill off Macs, then 64-bit processors are something that mobile devices need to have. And I'm really excited that, I was really excited when Microsoft released the Surface Pro and it had a core processor in it instead of a mobile processor. That was a step forward. This is a step forward too, with 64-bit processors in tablets. About time. Now that I'm done with that rant, it's got, I believe, dual speakers on the bottom. It's got the lightning connector. Buttons, I believe, are the same. It does not have Touch ID, which kind of stinks, just because, Touch ID would be cool to have on, a tablet. My laptop had a fingerprint sensor, and tablets don't have them yet. Granted, the Touch ID would probably work way better than my laptop's fingerprint sensor ever did. I digress. Just so you know, it's a Saturday at noon right now, and I just sat down to do this video. Didn't do a whole lot of preparation. As you can probably tell, I'm going to go ahead and click on iPad Air. Now, in calling this the iPad Air, some have suggested that Apple is mirroring the MacBook Air line, saying, oh, here's the MacBook Air, iPad Air, the same class of products, and I agree with that. I mean, you might want a keyboard and OS X for some things, and you might be able to do some things on a tablet. But I think that the iPad Air and the MacBook Air are more similar to each other than the iPad Air and the MacBook Pro. I'm just wondering where that leaves the iPad Mini. Because they could have said the iPad Mini is the iPad Air, and the iPad is the iPad Pro. Maybe they'll release a separate iPad Pro in the future. I don't know. But yeah, iPad Air, and they're really stressing how small it is. And I'm not saying that a 1-pound tablet that's 28% lighter and 20% thinner is a bad thing. I'm just saying, you're going to make things smaller every update. We get it. You've done that the past few updates. You've made things smaller the past few updates. So, add some new features too. I believe this does have the FaceTime HD camera, which would mean that the iSight camera on the back is 1080p, and the HD FaceTime camera on the front is 720p. That's great. 2 Wi-Fi antennas now, which will give you, big surprise, 2 times faster Wi-Fi. 2 Wi-Fi antennas. I don't know how that works. I would imagine that would be a little complicated on the software side. So, good job for doing that. And we're all going to cancel. iLife and iWork are all free with the purchase of new iOS stuff, which they announced way back at the end of summer. I don't remember when. I don't think it was. No, it wasn't June. I don't know. I'll just call it back at the end of summer when they did that announcement. They did say that they were going to do that. Every new iOS device that's been refreshed does come with iLife and iWork. And they talked about, like, GarageBand, you can have more tracks now with the 64-bit architecture. Like, I guess that's good. iMovie I'm going to be very interested in. Although, unfortunately, there's no way I would be able to get an iPad that's $500 that I could use toward a bigger purchase, like another desktop. I would be very interested in seeing how iMovie works, how you could do maybe some more professional video editing with the new chips. So yeah, and then iWork, of course, you know, Office. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about iOS 7 specifically today. You know why? Because there's not a whole lot to say. What do I think about iOS 7? I think that the addition of the settings bar at the bottom, great. Good job. And I know somebody complained to me that it's hard to flip the settings up with a case on your phone. So they shouldn't have put it at the bottom, because cases cover the bottom. Apple's not responsible if you want to put a clunky case on your phone. Apple is designing your phone to be used as a phone. Apple even gives you, you know, bumpers and simple cases that work with the iPhone. So, as far as I'm concerned, if you put a case on your phone which prevents you from using the phone, that is your fault, that is your problem, and you should have foreseen that before buying a case that covers the bottom of the phone. So yeah, I think that the settings panel at the bottom is great. Aside from the settings panel, everything was aesthetic that they changed. It was all just visual. They gave it a new theme. And they said that. They said, we gave it a great new theme. Yes, you did. What else did you do? We added the settings panel. And that was it. A new theme could have been achieved by a jailbreak. Could have been achieved by an Android device. Android, you can install a new theme if you want a new theme. But Apple, you can't install a new theme. So, I just don't think that they could push out a new theme and call it an update. I would have liked to see more new features. And I know that it was 64-bit, or I would hope that iOS 7 is 64-bit, but, yeah, I mean, frankly, the new graphics, I think, just look like crap. I have seen them in person, and yeah, I don't like the abstract, just blobs of color. It's very contradictory to what they had built up with the older versions of iOS. In the Steve Jobs biography I read, he was very interested in what's between the lines. So, like, you know, things like when you scroll all the way out, zoom all the way out in Safari, and you try to zoom out more, and it does that checkerboard behind it, like, details like that. And they kind of threw all of those details out. Or like when you turn in landscape in the checkerboard, that you might not think that's a very big thing if you've been using iOS for a while. Oh, when you turn it, you see checkerboards behind the web page. Why are you even talking about that? But back when I first saw an iPod Touch for the first time, and it was an iPod Touch first generation, and my friend Emily had an iPod Touch first generation, and I thought it was so cool. That was one of the things I noticed, was when I turned it sideways, it turns, which was cool in itself back then, to turn it and have it turn automatically, but I noticed the checkerboard texture behind the web page. I noticed that, and I think a lot of people noticed that in the first couple of iOS products. Now, we've all gotten used to that, so they said, okay, that's not new anymore, let's throw it out and just pack as much. And they called it simplicity. They called the new thing simple. They got rid of the 3D images, but now they're doing things like layers, transparency, which is more graphically intensive than simple 3D pictures, which looked more intensive. But, like, the Notes app doesn't have leather, you know, at the top and a note. Why can't we have a realistic Notes app? I just don't get it. It worked perfectly fine. I just don't think they could come up with anything new, which is a serious change for Apple. They have always been able to come up with something new, and they couldn't, aside from a settings panel. So yeah, that's what I think about iOS 7. Obviously, the new iPad comes with iOS 7, and yeah, now apparently the smart cover for the iPad Air also fits the iPad Mini, and vice versa. The cases don't fit each other, but the covers do. Don't understand that, but maybe I'll come to understand it. Yeah, so that was the iPad Air. Thinner, lighter, as usual, and more powerful, also kind of as usual. Apple also, I was very happy that they went and talked about the Mac. And they said that they are very interested in not merging the Mac with iOS, like Microsoft has done with their operating systems. Tried to merge them into Windows 8. We all saw how well that went. Apple said that they were very interested in keeping the Mac its own product. I am happy that they are able to say that they want to keep Macs separate from iOS devices. But they're not doing it. If you want to keep Macs separate from iOS devices, why are you putting launch pads? Is that what it's called? That's what it's called, right? Yeah, launch pad. Why are you putting a launch pad on Macs if you want to keep them separate from iOS devices? Mission Control, I'll be honest, it works great. It works fine. So yeah, I'm happy with Mission Control. Launchpad, I've got a 27-inch monitor here, and the icons are too big. And there's no way to adjust that. If there was a way to zoom out of your launchpad, that would be really great if you could zoom out of the launchpad. But, you know, yeah, the icons just... I'm not an idiot. I don't need inch-squared icons on a 27-inch monitor, you know? I am perfectly capable of clicking on what I want to click on without having the icons be that big. Anyway, I'm sorry I keep going off. I haven't made an Apple video in which I was able to talk about my opinions in a while, so that's why I'm kind of bursting to get it all out there. But yeah, alright, we'll talk about the iPad mini in a bit. We're kind of going out of order here. The MacBook Pro, they updated, they refreshed it, I would call, which looking at it as a refreshment, I am very happy with what they did. They brought the MacBook Pro with Retina display down to the price of the new iMac, which came out at the end of summer. No, it came out last year, the new iMac. So yeah, $1,300 rather than $1,200, as Apple used to do for Macs, but the iPad with Retina display is now $1,300 rather than, you know, $1,600. So that's good. I'm very happy about that, and they upgraded the processors. I think they're at Haswell now. That's good. They've got Iris Pro graphics in the 15-inch and Iris graphics in the 13-inch. Honestly, I think that both should have Iris Pro graphics, seeing that they're both MacBook Pros, and I don't think that anything with the word Pro in its name should have, like, I don't know. I don't know the difference between Iris and Iris Pro. Just judging from the names, the MacBook Pro should have the Iris Pro, no matter what screen size it has. I still think that the MacBook with Retina display is a very solid machine. I don't like it as much as previous. Yes, it's lighter, it's thinner. I absolutely love flash storage. I am a huge supporter of flash storage. The only thing is, it's expensive. You know, I've got 5 terabytes of hard drive space in my computer setup here, but I've only got about 150 gigabytes of SSD storage in my setup, and I've paid more for the SSDs than the hard drives. So, flash storage is kind of expensive, but I am very happy that the Macs have that built in. I am perfectly fine with that. If I need more storage, I am perfectly fine with going out and getting an external hard drive. But yeah, I actually don't like that they made the MacBook with Retina display thinner. And this isn't something they did recently. This they did last year. But I went to the Apple Store and I typed on the old MacBook again, or the old MacBook Pro, and the new MacBook Pro. And the one with the Retina display, the keys don't click down as much. And they used to put a whole lot of focus on little things like that. You know, I watched a video on Apple's website in like 2009 that said, you know, it was talking about how they focus on features, like the thumb scoop to get the display open. They tweaked that a lot before they got that to a point where they were happy with it. And the keys, they tweaked a lot before they were happy with them. The trackpad, they tweaked a lot before they were happy with the click. And yeah, they're kind of throwing that out in exchange for more mobility. Once again, I think Apple is losing its touch, not staying true to itself as a company. That kind of sums up what I think about what Apple's been doing just the past couple of years. But yeah, in terms of the new MacBook Pro that they released, or they announced, I think it's out, I think it's released, just last Tuesday. Refresh, upgrades, always good stuff. So, no, we're not going to talk about the iPhone yet. We're talking about the iPad mini. It's got Retina display. Alright, so it does have the new A7 chip. So, iPad mini with Retina display is now the iPad Air, but smaller. No differences anymore. Now, before we leave the realm of the iPad Air is now available for, $500. The iPad with Retina display, the iPad mini with Retina display is available for $400. The iPad 2 is still available for $400. The iPad 2 was released years ago, or at least it seems like it, but given that the iPad 6 is out now, the fact that they are selling not the iPad 5, not the iPad 4, but the iPad 2 on their store still, for $400, for the same price as a brand new product, something that was released, well, that was embarrassing, something was released 4 generations ago. It took me a little bit to do that math. I just either lower the price, or better yet, stop selling it. The iPad mini is designed for people who can't afford the iPad Air, or maybe not designed for them, but yeah, I don't think that the iPad 2 is needed in their lineup anymore. The iPad mini is now available for $300 rather than $330. You lowered it $30 and it's now outdated. Like, it's like buying something used for $30 less than the original price. Which I guess is, it's up to you how you want to look at that. My only job here is to inform you. So, that is what's going on with the iPads. Back to the Mac now. I don't think Apple did anything with the iMac recently. I know they didn't do anything with the Mac Mini. I don't think they did anything with the MacBook Air. If they did, then all it was they refreshed it. Now, the Mac Pro, I will be very happy to talk about. Or I would be very happy to talk about. I already made a video specifically for the Mac Pro, though, so I'm not going to get too in-depth into the Mac Pro. It cost $3,000. The old Mac Pro started at $2,000, I believe, somewhere around there. The new one starts at $3,000. Some people say, whoa, that's way too much. Guess what? First of all, the new Mac Pro has Exxon processors, as usual. It's got dual workstation class graphics. And if you don't understand the difference, well, I don't understand the physical difference, but if you don't understand the performance difference between desktop class graphics and workstation class graphics, then you shouldn't need a workstation. The workstation class graphics, and it has 2 of them. The old Mac Pro had desktop class graphics. It was a workstation that didn't have workstation graphics, and it was $2,000. The new one has dual workstation graphics, and it's, $3,000. It's got all-flash architecture, and it looks like you could even swap that out yourself. It looks like it. Don't hold me to that. Don't write down that quote from me. But just from what they were showing on the screen, it looked like there might be some sort of thing like a RAM stick, but obviously different, that you could plug into the hard drive areas, which would be interesting. I mean, how much can you really expand there? But 6 Thunderbolt ports, 4 USB 3.0 ports, 2 Ethernet ports, and you should be able to plug in just about anything you want with that assortment of ports. I love USB 3.0, and Thunderbolt I look at the same way I look at FireWire. I don't really use it because I don't have a Mac, but I support it. I absolutely think that this is worth $3,000. It is a good deal for $3,000. You think that Apple's overpriced for their stuff? Understand, go through part by part sometime. See how much it would cost you to build your own. Because, I built this desktop computer for less than I could have bought it from, HP or Dell. Go through, and considering how small it is, yay wide, this tall, and it's a cylinder, so it looks awesome. regardless, look at that. Look at the I/O expansion. So first find a motherboard with that much expansion on it. Then find that much plus however much flash storage this comes with in an SSD, plus dual workstation graphics, plus the Exxon processor, which is updated now. Thank God. You go through, see how much it would cost you to build a computer of equal specs to this. It'll be less than Dell sells it for. But possibly. But, yeah, this is a good deal. I have found that even with Dell and HP and Apple, workstation, like, professional computers that cost $2,000, $3,000 are usually less inflated than desktops. Because desktops are cheaper to make. These actually do cost that much, so they can't afford to add much more of a profit margin. I absolutely love the new Mac Pro. I'm not going to be able to afford it. But if you can't afford this, then you probably don't need it anyway. I would love to have a new Mac Pro, but what would I be using it for? Like, video editing and basic programming? I don't need this much power. And, yeah, neither do you if you can't afford this. I'm trying to think of anything else they did, because I kind of want to hit this all in one video. I think that was all they talked about. Just at the keynote the other day, was the iPads and the new MacBooks. Oh, right, they talked about OS X Mavericks, which I've already given you my opinion on. And also, my opinion is, you didn't add anything. You know, they made a big deal out of this being a free upgrade. Which, if they would have done that in the past, back when their brand actually meant something, remember back when you could say, I have an iPhone, and people would, oh, that's so cool. Now, everyone has an iPhone. You know why? Because they're making them cheaper and cheaper. If Apple still charged a premium for their products like they used to, then free upgrades would be perfect. Free upgrades would be perfect because you would buy into the ecosystem, and the ecosystem would support you. Just like in the past, the Apple tax, I think the Apple tax was worth it. It would have been worth it. Paying extra for a product for an Apple brand used to be worth it. And it would have been worth it even more with free software upgrades. But now that Apple's making things cheaper, you know, releasing budget models and selling older models of stuff, they're destroying their brand. They're deciding, okay, instead of being a good product maker, we're just going to aim to sell the most products. And that's really, it's destroying their brand. It's not destroying their products, but it is destroying their brand. So yeah, free upgrade, big whoop. All you added was, responding to emails and notifications. I don't know anyone who uses iMessage. You added responding to emails and notifications if you use Apple's Mail app, which I do. Let's read through. What's new? iBooks. So, if you want to sit at your desktop, alright, I'm going to sit down in my office chair and read a book. You can do that now. Maps. So, if for some reason MapQuest and Google Maps are both offline, yet you still have internet access, then you can sit down, start a map app. Start up the map app, and maps on the iPad and iPhone make sense, because you can walk places with them, and I've used them before. On my iPod, I've used maps. I've used maps to travel to, different counties on my bike before. Adam and I can tell you about that another time. But yeah, Maps app on mobile devices, great. But even on a laptop, you're not going to be holding your laptop open, using the Maps app. You're not going to sit down at your desktop and, memorize your route. If it was, as cool as Google Earth, then, you're mirroring Google Earth. But it's not. It's just a Maps app. Now, yes, you can send to iOS. That's one of their features. Okay, look up this route, send it straight to your iPhone, or whatever. But why not just type it in on your iPhone anyway? It's a feature. It's a very small feature. It doesn't add a whole lot. Calendar, we already had calendar. Fresh new look. Okay, they've added a week view and a month view. because a week view and a month view were not already in Calendar. Moving on. Calendar is not new. Safari. Shared links. Okay. So you can plug in your Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn pages now, and links that people share will show up in your Safari. Because you can't go to the website and click on a link, Safari has to automatically pull it in. Top sites, they already had. And they added a sidebar that has a reading list and bookmarks, which we already had. Nothing new in Safari. iCloud keychain, nothing new. Multiple displays. Am I the only person who thinks that multiple displays should have already been in macOS? Your menu bars and dock now show up on both monitors. Whoa. That's really all there is. They fixed their multiple display support. Good job for fixing that. Notifications. I don't like notifications. This is a desktop. I'm doing work at it. I don't need to receive texts on here. And if I receive an email, I will know about the email through the Mail app. I don't need a pop-up every time I get an email. Not to mention they already had notifications. Like I said, you can... while you were away, a list of notifications since last time you checked your notifications. That was already there. This was all already there, except for responding to iMessages. You can't even, you can't respond to emails. So, responding to emails from the notification, because you can't click on it to send an email. I mean, once again, it's a feature, more of a minor update. Finder tabs. You can now open tabs in the Finder. Some people like tabs. I don't like tabs in file managers. I just don't. Linux file managers often use tabs, and yeah. Personally, if I'm going to have more than one window open, it's usually because I am dragging one thing into another folder and dropping it, which you can't do with tabs. You can't really drag and drop very easily with tabs. So yeah, I don't use tabs. Don't use tags either. There's tabs, T-A-B-S, and tags, T-A-G-S. Tags are folders. You know why they have folders is because they're transitioning away from the file system, trying to get you to use iCloud, trying to get you to save stuff, God knows where on your hard drive, and have your applications worry about the location instead of you. Which, on the iPhone, I understand. And I get it, and I like it. On my iPhone, I don't need a file system. It's nice to have it there sometimes on Android for file sharing, but, you know, I don't use file system all that often on mobile devices. On my Mac, if you're going to need a Mac, I don't know. It's not a good thing for professionals. It's just, tags are folders. And advanced technologies, energy efficiency. So, nothing really new. I mean, you've got tabs in your file manager, reply from notifications. I hope somebody sees where I'm coming from here. Apple stressed that this was free. This deserves to be free. And this does not deserve to be OS X 10.9. This deserves to be OS X 10.8.5. It's not a major operating system upgrade. So yeah. Hope everyone enjoyed that little rant. This video is probably going to be crap. It's going to be crap to edit, that's for sure. So yeah, leave your opinions on Apple's new updates down below. And yeah, I'm not trying to hate on Apple. This is genuinely making me sad, the stuff they're doing, though. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that. Once again, that's Apple's new updates. I'm Jacob Kaufman, I'm on the street, and I will see you later. See ya.